The signal came from the darkest corner of the galaxy. It repeated every 6 hours, a pattern of sounds and numbers that no human had ever heard before. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in the control room of the Luna Observatory and watched the data scroll across her screen. Her hands were shaking. "Run it again," she said to her assistant. The young man pressed a button. The signal played once more. It was beautiful in a strange way, like music from a dream you could not remember. Elena had spent her whole life searching for proof that humans were not alone in the universe. Now she had it. And something about it made her afraid. Earth had joined the Galactic Concord just 12 years ago. Humans were the newest members of a group that included 43 different species from across the stars. The aliens called humans a juvenile species. They meant it as an insult. Humans had only been traveling between stars for about a century. Some Concord species had been doing it for 100,000 years. Elena knew she had to report this discovery. The rules were clear. A new signal from unknown space had to go to the Concord Council. She sent the message that same night. 3 days later, she stood in the Great Hall of the Concord Station. The room was enormous. Floating platforms held representatives from dozens of worlds. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange that Elena could not look at them for long. There were beings made of crystal, creatures that floated in tanks of green liquid, and things that existed as clouds of light. The Orium ambassadors spoke first. The Orium were the oldest species in the Concord. They looked like statues carved from diamond, and they moved very slowly. But when they spoke, everyone listened. Where did this signal come from? The ambassador asked. Its voice sounded like wind blowing through a cave. Elena showed them the star charts. "From here," she said, "the Vanta expanse." The room went silent. Elena had never heard such complete silence. Then, all at once, the aliens began to react. Some made sounds of fear. Others turned away. A few simply left the room without a word. "What is wrong?" Elena asked. "What did I say?" The Orium ambassador moved closer to her. For a being made of crystal, it seemed almost sad. "Dr. Vasquez," it said, "you must forget this signal. Delete all records of it. Never speak of it again. I do not understand. The Vanta expanse is forbidden. No Concord vessel has entered that region in 12,000 years. There is a reason for this." Elena felt her heart beating fast. What reason? The ambassador was quiet for a long moment. Around the room, other aliens watched and waited. Finally, the crystal being spoke again. "That signal is a question. It has been asking that question for longer than most species have existed. And every species that answers it disappears. They are never seen again, never heard from again. It is as if they never existed at all." Elena felt cold. How many? 46 species. 46 civilizations that heard the signal and could not resist the need to answer it. They sent ships. They sent messages. And then they were gone. The ambassador's crystal body seemed to flicker with inner light. "We do not know what waits in the Vanta. We do not want to know." The Concord learned long ago that some questions should never be asked. Some doors should never be opened. But what if there is something important out there? What if there is nothing out there but death? The ambassador's voice was hard now. "The Concord is issuing a formal decree. Humanity must not answer this signal. You must not investigate it. You must pretend you never heard it. This is not a request. This is a command." Elena wanted to argue. She wanted to ask more questions. But she saw the fear in the room. These were beings who had traveled the stars for thousands of years. They had seen wonders and horrors beyond human imagination. And they were afraid. "I understand," she said quietly. She returned to Earth and gave her report to the world governments. They listened. They debated. And in the end, they agreed. The signal was classified as Omega Black, the highest level of secrecy. All records were locked away. The scientists who knew about it were ordered to stay silent. Officially, the signal did not exist. Elena tried to forget. She went back to her normal work. She studied safe signals from safe places. But at night, she would sometimes wake up with the sound of that strange music in her head. She would lie in the dark and wonder what was out there, waiting in the void. 6 months passed. Life went on. Humans continued to build their small place among the stars. They traded with alien merchants. They learned new technologies. They tried to prove that they deserved to be part of the Concord. Then, on a cold morning in January, Elena received a message. It was short and unsigned. It contained only a set of coordinates and 3 words. "We are going." She knew immediately what it meant. Someone had stolen the signal data. Someone was going to the Vanta Expanse. Elena ran to her communication station and searched the ship registries. It did not take long to find what she was looking for. A ship called the Prometheus had left Earth orbit during the night. It was a decommissioned military cruiser that had been sold to a private research company. The company was fake. The crew manifest was sealed, but Elena recognized one name on the list. Captain Marcus Cole. She knew him. Everyone knew him. He was a war hero who had become famous for doing impossible things. He was also known for never following orders he disagreed with. Elena sat back in her chair and stared at the screen. Marcus Cole was taking a ship full of people into the most forbidden region of the galaxy. He was going to answer the signal that had killed 46 civilizations. She should report this. She should tell the Concord. That was her duty. Instead, she opened a drawer and pulled out a small bag she had packed months ago. She had known this day would come. She had known because she understood humans better than the aliens did. Humans did not hide from the dark. They walked into it with torches held high. She left a note for her assistant. Then she booked passage on the fastest ship she could find. If Marcus Cole was going to answer the call of the void, Elena Vasquez was going to be there when he did. The Concord had warned humanity not to answer the signal. Humanity was going to answer it anyway. The Prometheus was not a beautiful ship. It was old and scarred from battles fought long ago. The paint was faded. The engines made strange sounds. But it was fast and it was strong. And that was all Captain Marcus Cole needed. 200 people had joined his mission. Scientists, soldiers, engineers, and dreamers. They came from every nation on Earth. They came because they could not live with unanswered questions. They came because they believed humanity's future was hidden somewhere in the dark. Marcus stood on the bridge and watched the stars through the main window. They had been traveling for 3 weeks now. In 2 more days, they would reach the edge of the Vanta Expanse. Captain. The voice belonged to his first officer, a woman named Sarah Chun. "We have a problem." Marcus turned around. "What kind of problem?" "The kind that is standing in Cargo Bay 4 and demanding to see you." Marcus raised an eyebrow. He walked through the ship's narrow corridors until he reached the cargo bay. Inside, surrounded by crates and equipment, stood Dr. Elena Vasquez. Her clothes were wrinkled. Her hair was a mess. She looked like she had been hiding for a very long time. "Dr. Vasquez," Marcus said slowly, "you are supposed to be on Earth, and you were supposed to be following the Concord's orders. It seems we both have problems." Marcus almost smiled. He had met Elena once before at a conference about alien contact. He remembered her as someone who asked difficult questions. "How did you get on my ship?" "I bribed a cargo worker. It was not hard." "Your security is terrible." She crossed her arms. I know what you are doing, Captain. I know where you are going. I want to come with you. This is not a pleasure cruise. We might all die out there. I know. The Concorde says 46 species have already died trying to answer that signal. I know that too. Marcus studied her face. He saw no fear there. Only determination. Only hunger. It was the same hunger he saw when he looked in the mirror. "Welcome aboard, Doctor," he said. "Try not to hide in any more cargo bays." 2 days later, the Prometheus reached the Vanta Expanse. And everything changed. The first thing they lost was the stars. One moment, the sky was full of light. The next moment, it was completely black. Not dark, black. As if someone had painted over the universe with ink. "What is happening?" Sarah asked. Her voice was tense. "I do not know," the navigator replied. "According to our instruments, the stars are still there, but we cannot see them." Then the instruments failed. One by one, the screens went dark. The sensors stopped working. The navigation system showed nothing but errors. They were flying blind through an empty void. Marcus felt fear then. Real fear. But he did not let it show. "Switch to manual navigation," he ordered. "Use the old methods. Dead reckoning. We know where we are going. We just have to keep going straight." For 6 hours they flew through nothing. No light, no sound, no reference points of any kind. Some of the crew began to panic. Others prayed. A few simply sat and stared at the walls with empty eyes. Then, without warning, the darkness ended. The Prometheus emerged into a bubble of space that seemed almost normal. There were stars here. There was light. And there, hanging in the center of it all, was something impossible. It was a ring. A ring the size of Earth's moon, spinning slowly around a dead and darkened sun. The surface of the ring was covered with symbols and patterns. They looked like writing, but in dozens of different styles. Some were sharp and angular. Others were flowing and curved. A few seemed to move and shift even as the crew watched. "My God," Elena whispered. She was standing next to Marcus on the bridge. "It is a station. A space station built by who? By what?" "By the 46 species that came before us." Marcus guessed. "No, look at the size of it. Look at how old it is. This thing was here long before any of them arrived. This thing has been waiting." As if it heard her words, the station began to wake up. Lights appeared on its surface. Patterns of energy flowed through the metal. A deep hum filled the empty space around them, and then something spoke. It did not use words at first. It did not use sound. It simply pushed a feeling into the minds of everyone on the ship. A feeling of being seen. A feeling of being measured. A feeling of being judged. "This is Captain Marcus Cole of the Earth vessel Prometheus," Marcus said out loud. "We come in peace. We are here to—" The voice interrupted him. But now it used words. It spoke in English, in Chinese, in Spanish, in every human language at the same time. It spoke inside their heads and outside their heads. It spoke from everywhere and nowhere. "Why do you seek what destroyed the others?" The question hung in the air. On the bridge, nobody moved. In the corridors of the ship, crew members stopped what they were doing. In the medical bay, patients sat up in their beds. Everyone heard the question. Everyone felt its weight. 40-6 species had come to this place. 46 civilizations had heard this question. And 46 times, the answer had not been good enough. Elena looked at Marcus. Her face was pale. "What do we say?" Marcus thought about all the reasons they had come. He thought about curiosity and courage and the hunger to know. He thought about humanity's long climb from caves to stars. He thought about every person who had ever looked at the unknown and refused to look away. He opened his mouth, and spoke the only truth he knew, because we had to know. The station went silent. The lights flickered. For a terrible moment, Marcus thought they had failed. He thought this was the end. Then the voice spoke again. "Interesting," it said. "You may approach. The trial will begin." A door opened in the side of the great ring. It was large enough to swallow the Prometheus whole. Beyond it, Marcus could see only light. He looked at his crew. He saw fear on their faces. But he also saw something else. Hope. Curiosity. The stubborn human refusal to turn back. "Take us in," he ordered. The Prometheus flew forward into the light, and the door closed behind them like the jaws of some ancient beast. There was no going back now. There never had been. The inside of the station was bigger than the outside. Marcus knew this was impossible, but he had stopped believing in impossible things the moment they entered the Vanta expanse. The Prometheus floated through a vast space filled with light. Below them stretched a landscape of metal and crystal that went on forever. There were buildings here, monuments, statues of creatures that no human had ever imagined. And everywhere, there were records. Walls covered with writing, floating screens showing images and symbols. The collected knowledge of civilizations long dead. "It is a library," Elena said. Her voice was full of wonder. "A library of everything." The voice spoke again. This time it came from a single point in space ahead of them. The light gathered there, took shape, and became something like a face. It was not human. It was not alien. It was something in between. Something that could be anything it wanted to be. "I am the warden," the face said. "I was created to guard this place, to protect what is stored here, and to test those who come seeking knowledge." "Test?" Marcus asked. "What kind of test?" "The only test that matters. The test of truth." The warden moved through the air without walking. It circled the Prometheus slowly, studying the ship and the humans inside. 46 species have come to this place before you," the warden said. "Each of them detected my signal. Each of them could not resist the call. Each of them wanted what I have to offer." "And what happened to them?" Sarah asked. "They failed." The warden's voice was flat, without emotion. "Some went mad when they learned the truth. Their minds could not hold what I showed them. Others tried to take the knowledge by force and were destroyed. Most simply broke. They heard the truth and they could not continue living." "What truth?" Elena asked. "What could possibly be so terrible?" The warden stopped moving. Its face, if it could be called a face, turned toward her. "The truth about the universe, the truth about existence, the truth that every thinking being must eventually confront." The warden paused. "Would you like to hear it?" Marcus looked at his crew. He saw them watching him, waiting for his decision. They had come so far. They had risked everything. To turn back now would be to betray everything they believed in. "Yes," he said. "Show us." The warden raised something that might have been a hand. The world changed. Suddenly, Marcus was not on the ship anymore. He was floating in space, alone. Around him, he could see the entire universe. Billions of galaxies spinning in the void. Trillions of stars being born and dying. The whole great machine of creation turning without purpose or plan. And he felt something. A cold, terrible knowledge that settled into his bones. The universe did not care. It did not care about humans. It did not care about Earth. It did not care about love or hope or dreams or anything that Marcus had ever valued. The universe was vast and empty and completely indifferent to everything that lived within it. He saw the future. He saw the sun growing old and swallowing Earth. He saw humanity spreading across the stars and then slowly dying out. He saw the last human taking their last breath on some cold and distant world. He saw the stars themselves burning out one by one until nothing remained but darkness. Everything ended. Everything was forgotten. In the end, nothing that anyone ever did would matter at all. Marcus felt himself falling. Not physically, but spiritually. He felt the meaning draining out of his life. Why fight? Why struggle? Why do anything when the end result was always the same? Then the vision ended. He was back on the ship. His crew was around him. They had all seen the same thing. They had all felt the same truth. Sarah was on her knees, breathing hard. The navigator was crying. Several crew members had fainted. The air was thick with despair. The warden watched them with its strange, shifting face. "This is what broke the others," it said. "This is the weight of truth. Most species cannot bear it. They need to believe that the universe cares about them. When they learn that it does not, they shatter." Marcus tried to stand straight. His legs felt weak. His mind felt empty. He looked at Elena and saw that she was staring at the floor, her shoulders shaking. Then he heard something strange. Alana was laughing. It started small, just a quiet chuckle. But it grew. It became louder. It became something wild and real and alive. She threw her head back and laughed at the ceiling, laughed at the warden, laughed at the whole terrible truth of the universe. And then others joined her. Sarah started laughing. Then the navigator. Then Marcus himself. He did not know why he was laughing. He did not know what was funny. But somehow, standing in the face of infinite meaninglessness, laughter was the only response that made sense. The warden had not moved. But something in its face had changed. If a being of pure energy could look confused, this one did. "I do not understand," the warden said. "You have seen the truth. You have seen that nothing you do matters, that your species will end, that the universe will forget you ever existed. Why are you laughing?" Elena wiped tears from her eyes. Happy tears. Strange tears. "Because we already knew," she said. The warden was silent. "We have always known," Elena continued. "Since the first human looked up at the stars and understood how small we are. Since the first human watched someone they loved die. We know that we are tiny. We know that we are brief. We know that the universe does not care." She stepped forward, facing the ancient being without fear. "We have always known. And we kept going anyway. We built cities knowing they would fall. We wrote books knowing they would be forgotten. We loved people knowing we would lose them. We never needed the universe to give us meaning. We created our own." The warden was completely still now. "You'd call this a test," Elena said. "But for us, it is just Tuesday." Around her, the crew of the Prometheus stood a little straighter. The despair was fading from their faces. The truth had not destroyed them. It had reminded them of what they already were. Human, fragile and brief and small, and absolutely unwilling to give up. The warden floated in silence for a long time. The humans waited. They did not know what would happen next. They did not know if they had passed or failed. They only knew that they were still standing. Finally, the warden spoke. "In 12,000 years, no species has responded to the trial as you have." Its voice was different now. Less cold, more curious. "I have shown the truth to beings of pure logic and beings of pure emotion. I have shown it to hive minds and solitary thinkers. I have shown it to creatures that live for 10,000 years and creatures that live for 10 days. All of them broke. All of them fell apart when they understood that the universe had no purpose for them." The warden moved closer to Elena. "But you laugh. You already knew. I do not understand this. Explain it to me." Elena looked at Marcus. He nodded. She turned back to the warden. "Do you know the history of our species?" she asked. "I know many facts. You evolved on a small planet. You are young. You fight among yourselves. You are considered weak by the other species in your region of space. That is true, Elena said. But those facts do not tell the whole story. She walked to the window of the ship. Outside, the great library of lost civilizations stretched into the distance. Humans started as prey, she said. We were not the strongest animals on our world. We were not the fastest. We had no claws, no fangs, no armor. Other creatures hunted us, ate us. For millions of years, we died in the dark, afraid and alone. Yet you survived. We did more than survive. We became the dominant species on our planet. And do you know how? The warden waited. We refused to accept the truth of our situation. We were weak, so we made tools. We were slow, so we tamed animals to carry us. We were mortal, so we invented stories that let us live forever. Elena turned back to face the warden. Humans have always known that reality was against us. We have always known that the universe wanted us dead. And we have always said no. Marcus stepped forward. Let me show you something. He pulled out a small device and connected it to the ship's systems. Images began to appear in the air around them. Images from Earth's history. This is a city called Hiroshima, Marcus said. In 1945, a weapon destroyed it in a single flash. 80,000 people died in one moment. And do you know what happened next? The warden watched the images. It saw the ruins. The shadows burned into walls. The horror. The survivors rebuilt, Marcus said. They buried their dead. They mourned. And then they cleared the rubble and built a new city on top of the old one. Today, Hiroshima is home to over 1 million people. New images appeared. A man in a hospital bed writing music. A woman in a prison cell writing poetry. Children playing in the ruins of a bomb building. This is who we are, Marcus said. We create in the face of destruction. We hope in the face of despair. We love even though we know we will lose everything we love. Elena spoke again. The truth you showed us is not new to humans. We have a word for it. We call it existentialism. We have philosophers who spent their entire lives thinking about the meaninglessness of existence. And do you know what they concluded? What? That meaning is not something you find. It is something you make. The warden was silent. The humans could feel it thinking, processing, trying to understand. I want to see more, the warden said finally. I want to see your world. Your history. Everything. Then look, Elena said. Our records are open to you. The warden reached out with its mind. It connected to the Prometheus's computers. It downloaded every file, every image, every piece of music and art and literature that the ship carried. It accessed Earth's networks through the ship's communication systems. It began to absorb the entire history of human civilization. Hours passed. The crew waited. Some slept. Others talked quietly among themselves. Marcus and Elena stood on the bridge and watched the warden consume their world. What do you think it sees? Marcus asked. Everything, Elena said. The good and the bad. The beautiful and the ugly. All of it. Is that a good thing? I do not know, but it is honest. Finally, the warden spoke again. His voice had changed once more. There was something in it now that had not been there before. Something that sounded almost like respect. I have seen your history. I have seen the wars and the plagues and the cruelty. I have seen humans do terrible things to each other for the smallest reasons. The crew tensed. But I have also seen something else. I have seen artists creating beauty while their cities burned. I have seen doctors fighting diseases they knew they could not cure. I have seen parents protecting children against impossible odds. I have seen humans fall down again and again and get back up every single time. The warden's light grew brighter. I have tested thousands of species across millions of years. I have asked them all the same question. I have shown them all the same truth. And until today, every single one of them failed. It turned to face the crew of the Prometheus. You are different. You do not need the universe to care about you. You care enough for yourselves. You do not need a grand purpose. You create your own purpose every day, in every small act of kindness and courage and love. The great being seemed to bow its head. The trial is complete. You have passed. A door opened in the wall of light. Beyond it, Marcus could see the library. The real library. Endless halls filled with the knowledge of 1,000,000 years. The archive is yours, the warden said. Take what you need. Learn what you can. Share it with others. Elena stepped forward. Why give this to us? The warden looked at her with something that might have been a smile. Because you are the first species I have ever trusted to use it wisely. You understand that knowledge is not power. Knowledge is responsibility. And you have shown me that humans take their responsibilities seriously, even when there is no reward for doing so. The crew of the Prometheus stood in silence, looking at the gateway to infinite knowledge. There is one more thing, the warden said. A question I have never asked before. What is it? Marcus asked. What will you do with this gift? Marcus looked at his crew. He looked at Elena. He looked at the library waiting for them. The same thing we have always done, he said. We will learn. We will grow. We will share what we find with anyone who wants it. Even your enemies? We do not have enemies. Only people we have not helped yet. The warden was quiet for a long moment. Remarkable, it said finally. Truly remarkable. The Prometheus spent 3 months inside the station. The crew explored the library, copying everything they could carry. They found star maps showing garden worlds ready for life. They found cures for diseases that had killed billions across the galaxy. They found technologies that the Concorde had never imagined. They found warnings about dangers hiding in the dark corners of Space Dot, and they found the stories. 46 species had failed the warden's test, but they had not disappeared completely. Their records were here. Their art, their music, their dreams. They had left behind everything they were, hoping that someday someone would remember them. We will remember, Elena promised, standing before a wall covered with alien symbols. We will make sure no one forgets you. When it was time to leave, the warden did something unexpected. It asked to come with them. I have guarded this place for 12,000 years, it said. I have watched species come and fail. I have been alone with the dead for longer than your civilization has existed. Now, for the first time, I want to see what happens next. Marcus looked at his crew. They nodded. Welcome to the Prometheus, he said. Try not to break anything. The journey home took 6 weeks. The Vanta Expanse did not fight them this time. The stars returned. The instruments worked. It was as if the darkness itself had decided to let them pass. When they emerged into normal space, they found a fleet waiting for them. Concorde ships from a dozen different species, all pointing their weapons at the Prometheus. Unknown vessel, a voice crackled over the radio. You are in violation of Concorde law. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Marcus smiled. Open a channel to everyone, he said. Every frequency. I want the whole galaxy to hear this. The communication officer obeyed. A moment later, Marcus was broadcasting to every ship in the system. This is Captain Marcus Cole of the Earth vessel Prometheus. We have just returned from the Vanta Expanse. We have made contact with the intelligence there. We have passed its test. And we are bringing back gifts for everyone. The channel exploded with voices, shock, disbelief, fear. But Marcus kept talking. 46 species went into the Vanta and never returned. We know why now. They were tested, and they failed. We were tested too, and we passed. He paused. The question you need to ask is, why did we succeed where everyone else failed? A week later, Marcus stood before the Concord Council. The same room where Elena had first reported the signal. The same aliens who had told humanity to stay away. But now they were silent, listening. The being in the Vanta is called the Warden, Marcus explained. It guards an archive of knowledge collected over millions of years. It tests anyone who comes to claim that knowledge. The test is simple. It shows you the truth about the universe. The truth that nothing matters. That everything ends. That the cosmos is cold and empty and does not care if you live or die. The Orium ambassador leaned forward. And how did you survive this truth? We did not just survive it. We already knew it. Marcus looked around the room. Humans have always known that the universe isn't different. We have always known that we are small and brief and forgotten. But we've decided a long time ago that we do not care. We do not need the universe to love us. We love each other. We do not need a cosmic purpose. We make our own purpose. Every day. Every moment. In every act of kindness and courage and hope. Elena stepped forward. The other species failed because they could not live without meaning. When the Warden showed them there was no meaning, they broke. But humans have always created meaning out of nothing. It is what we do. It is who we are. The council was silent. We have brought the knowledge of the archive with us, Marcus continued. Star maps, technologies, medical cures, warnings about dangers, everything. And we want to share it. Not sell it. Share it. With everyone? Why? The question came from an alien who looked like a giant insect. What do you want in return? Nothing. That is impossible. Everyone wants something. Elena smiled. We want you to stop being afraid. We want you to remember that the universe may be cold, but we do not have to be. We want to show you what humans learned a long time ago, that the only meaning in existence is the meaning we create together. 1 year later, everything had changed. The cures from the archive saved billions of lives across the galaxy. The star maps led to new colonies, new resources, new hope. The warnings helped the Concord prepare for dangers they had never known existed, and humans were no longer seen as the juvenile species. They were seen as something else entirely. Something the galaxy had never encountered before. A species that could stare into the void and smile. The Warden traveled the galaxy, observing humans wherever they went. It watched them build hospitals on alien worlds. It watched them teach their songs to species that had never heard music. It watched them sit with the dying and comfort the grieving and celebrate the living. I still do not fully understand you, the Warden told Elena one evening. They were standing on the observation deck of a new space station, watching ships from 100 worlds arrive for a conference on sharing the archive's knowledge. What do you not understand? You know that everything you build will fall. You know that everyone you love will die. You know that in the end, the universe will forget you. And yet, you keep building. You keep loving. You keep trying. Elena thought about the question for a long time. There is an old human saying, she said finally. It goes like this. A society grows great when old people plant trees whose shade they will never sit in. What does that mean? It means we do not do things for ourselves. We do them for the ones who come after. We may be forgotten, but the trees we plant will give shade to children we will never meet. The songs we write will be sung by voices we will never hear. The kindness we show will ripple outward forever, changing lives we cannot imagine. She looked up at the stars. We are going to die. All of us. Our species will end someday. The universe will forget we ever existed. But right now, we are alive. Right now, we can make things better. Right now, we can love each other. And that is enough? Elena smiled. That is everything. Far below, a child from a species that had once feared humanity was playing with a human child. They were laughing at something. Neither of them cared that the universe was cold. Neither of them worried about the heat death of the stars. They were alive. They were together. They were happy. And for now, in this brief and beautiful moment between the dark and the dark, that was more than enough, that it was everything. It was human.